Hi guys, today is the 4th of August 2019 at 47 minutes past 4 in the afternoon over here in the UK, and this will be the last video for today. I think I've already posted two, and this will be the last one, the third one. So it's just a quick, again, just a recap of the interpretation and a little bit of follow on from that. So 8th character, 11 above the head, August 11, rabbit lights up, room goes dark, emergency lighting, indicating blackout. Roll across, volcano on the apple, apple splits in half, shows us 2 seeds on one side, 1 seed on the other with an 8 in the middle. That's 21/8, the date Hawaii received statehood, but also 8/12, which is August the 12th, the day after August 11th. So blackout August 11th, volcanic eruption August 12th. Looks like we have a split in that volcano generating the tsunami wave. Hurricane Flossie is making its way towards Hawaii, will be arriving around the 6th or even possibly the 7th. If that is an indication of a sideways 7, then that will be adding more water to the volcano, which already has water in it, increasing the potential for a hydrothermic eruption. Now, don't know if that's going to happen on the 7th, but or on the 5th, but we are on watch. It could be that it doesn't erupt on the 5th or the 7th, but the water is added from Hurricane Flossie, or maybe it's between the 5th and the 7th, because that's the time that Flossie will be approaching the hurricane, up to the 5th, the 6th and the 7th. So it's possible that it's covering that time period of the Roman numeral for 5 and sideways 7. So I'll just go with that interpretation. Between the 5th and the 7th, water is going to be entering the Kilauea volcano through Hurricane Flossie, which is either going to result in an eruption that day or later on the 12th, in association with the scene we just saw before, which was the apple splitting in half, which has the volcano on it, and the 1 seed on this side, the 2 seeds on this side, and the 8 in the middle, 12/8 or 8/12. Now we move on and we go outside the classroom. Already talked about this. You've got the towers representing 11, could be the One World Trade Center, could be the Empire State Building, could be the Statue of Liberty, could be Trump Tower. You know, there's various ones, little Big Ben over here, and we move on. I'm going to try and go back and interpret everything in the scene, just move on. Now we come to Iran, so bearing in mind we had August 11th with the blackout indication, August the 12th with the volcanic eruption tsunami situation. Now we've got the 13 up here in the clouds or the smoke or the tsunami wave backwards, which may indicate the following day. So a sequence of events: blackout, volcanic eruption, tsunami, Iran closing the Strait of Hormuz. And since Osama bin Laden also represents Pakistan, it may be that Pakistan and India begin to move towards conflict around this time as well. So as we can see here, there's the oil dripping into the ocean, which follows on from the Osama bin Laden Pakistan-Iran scene, which tells us more about the Strait of Hormuz and the oil slowing down. But also we've got a crack in the earth running all the way back here towards the oil rig, the earth raising up over here, and a tsunami wave pushing that way. So that gives us an indication to a different scenario involving a tsunami, this time with an earth shattering earthquake, and the possibility of that being located around the Gulf of Mexico, if we're going with the oil rigs, or the East Coast is there. So those two interpretations follow on. Let's keep going. Again, we have the reference to the light going out, the torch going dark, the reference to the children, and the probably linked to abortions or something in that way. I know there was a connection with New York and their abortion laws recently. I don't usually watch all of this part, but okay. So then we get to this part, and we have 1 missile fired and 5 missiles fired at in return. So if we've got a sequence of events, such as a blackout on the 11th, a volcanic eruption, tsunami on the 12th, Iran closing the Strait of Hormuz on the 13th, then that may indicate Israel/the United States launching an attack on Iran on the 15th, the 1 missile and the 5 missiles in return. At the same time, we've also got the 15 connected to the eyebrow of the George Bush character, with Donald Trump 9 on his back on the other eyebrow, where we also have a half face here facing upwards. Here's the nose, here's the eye, here's the mouth, and that again I think is associated with Donald Trump. The explosion coming out the back of his head, again, is in association with the interpretation of a gunshot to the back of the head. The immigration rhetoric, the racist rhetoric, the trade war, the situations with Iran, there's many different reasons why someone somewhere could do something like that. We're not short of reasons here. But also we've got the submarine, so we've got submarine fire. I believe that's Iran retaliating with their submarine. Over here we've got the aircraft carrier. That could be USS Abraham Lincoln or USS Carl Vinson, possibly both, as indicated in the Iran propaganda video. That is, they used a tsunami wave to destroy the naval vessels in that video. And if you can see these little cresting bits of wave just here, that kind of indicates turbulent waters, which would have association with a tsunami in my opinion. Obviously, not to mention that we have more to talk about. So all of that unfolding, the Ravens possibly connected with the Tower of London, indicating an event in London at the same time. Then we have this air blast, I believe from, can't remember which one it was, MOAB, is that mother of all bombs, or is the other one? Either way, it's a massive ordnance air blast, yeah, so that's the mother of all bombs. And that appears to be above a mountain, and currently Iran has a nuclear facility underneath a mountain for protection. So a bomb like this could possibly reduce the mountain to rubble, and allow for the other weapon, I can't remember what it's called, but it's the one that drills into the ground before it explodes, a bunker buster basically. So first you get rid of the mountain, and then you bunker bust to try and get into the nuclear facility itself. And that appears to be what's happening after the 15th. If the scene before indicates the 15th of August, then this scene follows on. This may indicate what's happening after that in order to try and get to the nuclear facility that Iran has hidden beneath the mountain in Iran. Continuing. So obviously a reference to Egypt here, scarab beetle. Gone through all that. I believe this indicates Somalia and Somali piracy, with the indication of the skull and crossbones, not just a reference to Skull and Bone Society, though they appear to be up in some mountains from what I can see, and the waves are quite high, so that indicates a tsunami in the Somalia region, which would mean a tsunami in the Indian Ocean, which again, with the reference to India and Kali in this video, it's possible that that could be part of the destruction that they're foreseeing. I feel like we have some sort of issue with nuclear contamination in water to do with immigration, and as I've said, that may be linked to the Rio Grande power plant in Texas, El Paso, where we've recently had the shooting that took place, where we have an anagram which also relates to US Circuit Spark. And obviously if there's an event at the Rio Grande power plant that causes nuclear material to leak out into the Rio Grande River, then that would result in power being lost to whatever businesses and homes the Rio Grande power plant serves. I don't know if it serves the whole of Texas, probably not, but probably serves a huge chunk of it. So if something happens there in terms of nuclear meltdown, then obviously we, carrying on. Okay, and then we get to the potential situations involving North Korea, South Korea, China and Taiwan. I believe that the tanks have a reference to China and Taiwan in association with the Abraham tank sale from the United States, and also the reference to Tiananmen Square in connection with the Hong Kong protests that are going on at the moment. And they may come forward on the 15th of August. So that would be blackout August 11th, volcanic eruption tsunami August 12th, Iran blocking the Strait of Hormuz August 13th, Iran/the United States launching an attack on Iran, Iran retaliating on August 15th. At the same time, something potentially happening to Donald Trump on that day, and at the same time, China sending their military in to deal with the Hong Kong protests, and also the possibility of conflicts escalating between China and Taiwan at the same time. Then we get a kind of backup of the number 15, I think, in this interpretation. The party favor represents number 1, and the fireworks in the background, 5 of them indicate the 15th, in my opinion. But at the same time, we've got a potential hurricane here around the Korean Peninsula, and I haven't got an extension of the weather map up to the 15th. I have up to the 13th at the moment, and on the 13th there is a massive typhoon sitting outside of Japan, Tokyo. So I think that is going to be connected to this video. That typhoon, whatever its name is, and I should probably do the research on that, but this typhoon that's going to be around Japan, the Tokyo area, basically in Asia, where this whole scene is unfolding, around the 15th, I think again is connected to this video. So just moving forward, I'm just trying to give you a basic breakdown of where I think events and dates are showing up in this video, and the possibility of that being connected to August. If it's not August, then, you know, another month. There's only, what, 4 left? And obviously the guy shouting through the screen, I think, has a reference to TV, with the brain kind of, the head kind of cracked open, and the boy looks like he's in complete anguish at the same time. May have a connection to everything that's going on prior to that point. As I said, from the 11th to the 15th, all those events may result in, you know, something like this happening. Plus you've got the medication on the ground, and there's a big case against Johnson & Johnson's at the moment, which, if the judge sides with the plaintiffs in the case, will have a huge effect on Johnson & Johnson's stock, which in turn will have a huge effect on the stock market. And I think that's related to the drugs that are on the ground next to this boy. We see earlier in the scene, go back here a little bit more, so you can see just here on the ground we've got the drugs here, and then as the scene evolves we go into the boy's eyes, and, you know, we see uranium and markets plunge. And I think the markets plunging has something to do with the pharmaceutical industry, as well as the oil, as well as the sanctions with China. So all of it kind of compounding into one to have a massive effect on the stock market. And at the same time, you've got the war coverage if, for example, Iran does close the Strait of Hormuz on the 13th of August, and then war ensues with Iran on the 15th. Let me move back to where I was. We're about here. Skip forward a bit. So here we get to India, and the stamp on the ground indicates a earthquake, and then you've got the little number 6 or 9 on the ground. Let's just go back. Sorry, just let it play for a second. So you see just here on the ground you've got either the number 9 or the number 6, depending on which way they intended it to be viewed. In my opinion, there's no point emphasizing a magnitude 6. Those happen all the time, but magnitude 9s are more significant. So that's why I've done a couple of videos, keeping an eye out for an earthquake magnitude 9 plus on the Richter scale. And because it's the blue character wearing the Hindu goddess Shiva mask, which is connected to India, I think the earthquake will be in the Indian Ocean, which will generate a tsunami in that region, which is where we come back to that image of the boy and the mother, I think, with the skull and crossbones on the side, and the flooding in the background, which indicates a tsunami in that region. So just linking those two together from that information. The fish jumping out of the water, that's something that happens when they are frightened or scared. So that could be again in association with an earthquake. At the same time, while the Antichrist is traveling through this tunnel, it's kind of breaking around him. So that suggests like shaking, instability, some sort of earthquake again. And then there's a reference to a false rapture, in my opinion, with the hand of what they've got as the image of the hand of God coming down, reaching out to this woman who is purified and then taken in a bright white light, as you can see just there. And again, above her is the tally marks for number 5, and I'm not sure if that relates to the 5th of a particular month, or if it's just saying there's 5 in association with this, you know, potential false rapture event. Either way, the earth is still shaking, and obviously if it's a magnitude 9+, it's going to have a chain effect around the globe. This speaks of some sort of massive explosion event involving businessmen, and it may not actually be an explosion at like Wall Street or something like that. It could be just that the stock market, as the business people may represent, you know, the business people that go to the stock market, it could just represent the stock market exploding after plunging. You know, basically it's over. Now they have the opportunity to bring in the one world currency. Now, if you consider that the scene before with the woman in the tower was a false rapture, you've then got this boy who's dressed in the Catholic garms, moving forward towards a bright white light, as if he's going towards, you know, enlightenment and going towards the rapture. And then we have this boy here rising up towards the heavens, again giving us that reference to rapture. And believe me, it's false, because no one can predict the time or day. So if this video is predicting a rapture, it's false. Over here, as pointed out before, there's Morse code imprinted, which tells us about an EMP in New York, and that may actually happen on August 11th, if that's in association with the blackout that we seem to be getting from these interpretations. Keep moving forward. I think I'm nearly done. Right here, it basically gives us a breakdown of things happening. In the flames before, I noticed the number 23, so it may be that sometime afterwards, sometime after the blackout, after the volcanic tsunami eruption, after the Iranians have closed the Strait of Hormuz, after war has begun with Iran, after the conflicts have escalated between Pakistan and India, and after there has been a massive earthquake, there may then be the attack on the east coast with the submarines approaching under the guise of a hurricane, or, you know, some sort of other cyclonic event. And that is Russia, with the bear being the representation of that. And then the bird flying up indicates some sort of missile. But also just here, excuse me, let's try and stop this thing. Just here, in this area here, actually a little bit further down here, this whole thing here, and this little bit here, it makes up a bell. And obviously a bell could connect to many things. Could be, you know, like the Liberty Bell, for example, could be, that's in Pennsylvania, it could be the Big Ben in London. But I found that there's a place in London called the Whitechapel Bell Foundry, and they were responsible for casting a lot of the famous bells in the world, including the Liberty Bell and the Big Ben. They're closed now, so the potential for something being hidden in that building, ready for an event for the future, is quite high, and it's something that I am curious about and we'll probably try and find a way to confirm or debunk. But the reference to the bells and the fact that we've got a tower in the video outside the classroom that reminds me of Big Ben, it may not be Big Ben, but it reminds me of Big Ben, kind of drew me to those two bells, Liberty and Big Ben. And I was thinking maybe events in those locations, like at the Big Ben Tower and at the, you know, location that houses the Liberty Bell. But then I think actually an event at the place that made those bells would make more sense, especially if those places are closed and you know, the public can't access them. No one knows what's behind the closed doors. No one really cares about the Whitechapel Bell Foundry. It's not a famous location. It just made famous bells. Now it's closed. The bells are still accessible. They're still famous. So, you know, people just don't really think about that. But I am thinking about that because it just came to me, and that's why I'm bringing it to you now. Bright white light indicates some sort of explosion. Then we get to the end of the video where we may have already had an event unfold in, what was it, April, May, June, can't even remember which month it was, but the Notre Dame Cathedral fire with the spire collapse, the crown of thorns being removed and placed in a different location just as the crown of thorns is removed from the Antichrist head here. So there's a lot of things we're looking out for. Some things have already unfolded in the background, as you can see just here. I've said before that the Fool Me Once reference connects us to September the 21st, and we may have an S-21 in the background here for another tsunami event, this time possibly involving Mount Etna and Stromboli in the Mediterranean region in association with the Antichrist, which would make sense because if a massive tsunami took out the Vatican, then that is a destruction of the symbolic church. Obviously the Vatican isn't the church itself, but you know, it's a representation of it. Take the Vatican out, and then the one world religion comes forward with the Antichrist as its deity to be worshipped. You guys, that is the end of the video. I didn't even intend to go all the way to the end. I just wanted to do up to the 15th with the Iran part, but then it all started unfolding. It all started connecting together and how these events may sync. As I say, it may not be in this month, but we have a number of events synchronizing together, which is unfolding into this tapestry of chaos. And I really hope nothing does happen, because just from the unfolding of the scenarios, I'll run it through one more time just for a recap. August the 11th, look out for a blackout, nationwide blackout. August the 12th, look out for the eruption of Kilauea and the resulting landslide tsunami affecting the west coast. August the 13th, look out for Iran shutting the Strait of Hormuz. August the 15th, look out for a number of things, including Israel and the United States launching an attack on Iran for closing the Strait of Hormuz. Donald Trump being attacked or shot, potentially. Also China sending in their military to deal with the Hong Kong protests, and the situation between China and Taiwan devolving over the sale of USS Abraham tanks. That's it, I think. You guys have a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and may the Heavenly Father bless you.